Nelly Wandji. I was born and raised in Cameroon, and 14 years ago, I moved to France. I've been living in France and basically Paris for the last 10 years. I had an education in international trade, and I was specialized in luxury management. After my graduation, I started working for an international corporation with 18 brands, from top luxury brands in watches and jewelry to access brand. While working for this company, I was also discovering the French culture, the Swiss culture, the French culture, and most international brand in the watch industry culture as well. And this is pretty much, that was my environment. I was diving between brands, understanding the way of thinking of the Americans, the way of thinking and the way of doing things from the German. And it just happened to me to realize that in nowadays, from when you wake up in the morning up to when you sleep, you're surrounded by brands. And brand is your way of telling the world who you are, what you believe, and what is your core you. Otherwise, you cannot really much tell about yourself. When I realized this, I also understood that most countries in the world have brands. They have their brand. Their brand is the way of telling people who they are, what they believe in, what they know, their know-how, and what is their heritage as well. And at some point in my career, I find myself at a crossroad, wondering, who am I really? When I have to tell my story, when I have to share my stories from my continent with people, it's not visual, it's not concrete. They don't quite understand what I mean. But if you have a French friend coming from Paris, he'll probably bring you La Durée. And next time you go to Paris, you will say, okay, I love this brand because. But when I tell my African story, what can I share with people that they will actually feel connected to me in terms of value? And that's when I realized that when you take a country, for example, like, let's say, Switzerland, this brand kind of hit me. 200 years, more than 200 years, consistently doing the same thing and telling the world that they are the best. If I take my country, my continent, who did that? So that was it. That was it. I had to do something about that, because otherwise it's just like I don't exist if I cannot tell my story with consistency and something very strong. It's not going to stick. It's just like in this world of consumerism, of capitalism, I don't exist. I'm nowhere. So I have to be somewhere. So now let's make a little something together. Can you name an European brand? Somebody else? What are you wearing? Okay. Now, can you name an African brand? One, only one. Wow, this is amazing. I'm pretty impressed. It means some of us have been doing great work. So when I realized that me, myself, I could name 100 brands from everywhere in the world, but I couldn't name 10 brands from Africa. I mean, Africa is a continent, 54 countries, 1 billion people. how come I cannot name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 brands? And basically that's how it started. I started looking for stories from the continent, looking for people doing things, looking for extraordinary things, you know, those emotion brand can give you, those exceptional way of doing things, those storytellers who actually can, you know, share a part of who they are through a little product, through a way of seeing things, through a new campaign. Those inspiring brands who can actually build up your mind about the way you see the world. So basically that was it. I started doing that. So for the last 4 years, I was doing that. I was just doing that, researching online, traveling, going to Accra, that was my first stop, then going to Lagos, going to South Africa, going to places and looking for those people who do things. So now I can introduce to you a few of them. So next time when you think about Africa, you have to think about those people who do things. And I have to fight harder to bring them to you as well. Because when you go out, you can see Patek Philippe. So my challenge is to get you to know Aïssa Dion, who has been working with the Hermès, who have been working with Louboutin as well. But still, she's not that close to you that you can actually relate to Africa through her. I can introduce you as well to Akosua. Now she's been around the world selling her little raffia bags. She's retailed in 10 countries around the globe, on all the 5 continents. I can introduce you to Laduma, who's been doing great things with in South Africa. I can introduce you as well to Sally Rabican. 2 years ago, she actually got to dress Beyonce. I mean, man, she dressed Beyonce. This is a real deal. I can introduce you as well to Swati Martin. She's been traveling across the continent, selecting refined tea from the continent. All those brands they help me actually find a way through the call me. Barthélemy Togo is an artist, and he's an activist as well, because he's all about connecting the world to his story and through his art. So when I discovered all those brands, they were there, but they weren't out there, you know. They weren't in Paris. They're not in Hong Kong. So I was like, okay, am I gonna still working for this top international brand and selling this stuff around the world? Or do I have to start now building up other brands who can actually challenge the status quo, you know? Give you another perception of the world and share who they are with you. So basically that's it. I started importing African stories, African creatives, African brands. I started online because it was the easiest way to start. And after a few years online, I realized I was only tapping into 10% of the potential. And I was wandering in Paris, going to an art exhibition. And I was working all that day on Faubourg Saint-Honoré. And I was like, Dad, you see all those international brands, you know, they're all there, all international auction houses. And I'm like, where are we? I mean, it's like, I live here, but I'm not seen. So I called, I don't remember how you say agent immobilier in English. Exactly, a real estate agent. And I started looking in Paris for places, and I started talking to people. I started talking to my bank, and they say, yeah, we can make it happen. So I found that address. So I opened a gallery on Faubourg Saint-Honoré. So if you don't know the street, maybe get the Monopoly game, you will know the street, because it's on the Monopoly game. And the goal is there to put African creative on a global map, because it's not only about doing things in Africa, it's actually bridging the gap and bringing it everywhere for Africa to be part of the world, you know. So we find the finest product and item and art from Africa, and we showcase those designers in a very different way, because the goal is not to kind of start up a new way of doing. It's also to show different product in an international environment. So we have books. So if you want to get inspiration, we have books, we have shoes, we have fashion, design, art. And you know, all this brand working and redefining a new aesthetic of Africa are really challenged by also other international brands inspired by Africa. But most of the time, they just give you 1% of what it is, actually. Sometimes it comes with stereotyping people and their heritage. Sometimes they get it wrong as well. Sometimes they don't name who did it first, so they appear to be the first one to do it. But I think that it doesn't even matter, because I really believe that culture is meant to be shared. If I have my culture, you have your culture, and if we do not interact, it's not possible. You know, we're living on the same earth. We're gonna live on the same earth for a long time, because now at this time we cannot yet live anywhere else. So we have to share this space. So to share this space, we have to connect to each other and share who we are and share what we believe in. So for me, African brands and creative are already doing that. You know, they're the real ambassador of what Africa really is. And for you, if you're interested by my story, by their story, by going on the continent, the best way to connect to the continent is through its people, through those brands. Forget about what you see on TV. Forget about what the media is telling you, because they're not telling you the real story. Because if I was to tell you the real story of Paris, I would tell you my passion. What I found in Paris, discovering all these brands. That's what's matter. And anytime you come to Paris, now you know you have me. Can visit me. Can visit me and discover all the creativity I've been finding on the continent. Because at the end of the day, what matters is to share our culture, to be open to each other, and to know that we're all the same. We value the finest thing. We want the best for ourselves and for the people we care about. So opening to each other through this, for me, is the chicest way to do it. So let's do it that way. Thank you very much.